Well, speaking of, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
When it comes to censorship and all that kind of stuff. I know I sent this to you early this morning because I fell asleep very early last night. I think I was asleep before 7.
Wow.
And I woke up at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And so I'm looking for stuff to watch. And because The Irishman is so popular right now. And, speaking of YouTube,
Sure.
there was I shared it with you. There was a video of Jimmy Hoffa on the Dick Cavett Show.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah.
And, listening to that or watching that video or watching the show from 1973, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 46 years ago, almost 47 years ago.
Right.
The stuff that Hoffa was saying about the media and Congress, how, when Congress and the media collaborate, which is basically what they're doing now when it comes to Donald Trump, since Tim brought that up.
Right.
He was talking about how they will go out and just destroy a person. Their main focus is just collaborating, and anybody that crosses them or they don't like, they just make a concerted effort to destroy them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And, this is 46 years ago he's talking about this.
Right.
And nothing's changed. It's the same tactic.
Yeah, it really is.
But I found it fascinating, his thoughts on the prison system, because, again, that's another issue that is still an issue today about the prisons and rehabilitation and, just basically warehousing people and all kinds of stuff, about his take on how the prisons should be segregated from the homos.
Right.
Because, whether Dick Cavett was a good interviewer or not, which I agree with you and your sentiment that, he never could stay on point.
Yeah, just a flighty garbage interviewer.
Yeah, but he was talking about Jimmy Hoffa's stay in prison and brought up the fact that, it's well known that in prisons, especially for the long timers, because obviously they're no longer part of society, that
right.
they turn to homosexuality as a sexual outlet.
Right.
And he was asking Jimmy Hoffa about, were you ever approached? And if you were, how did you handle it? And he basically said, when you come in and you're strong and people know that you're strong, they're just going to leave you alone. They'll just prey on the weak.
Yeah.
He said, nobody approached me, but I can tell you what, most of the problems in prison are drugs and homosexuality, and both of those caused the prison riots and the stabbings and the fights and the killings and things that go on in prison. And he said it was really interesting, his take on that from 46 years ago.
No, I can't even fathom what goes on now, because that was when there was at least some bit of civility in human beings.
Right.
It's got to be a million times more rough than that now, don't you think?
You would think so, yeah. But boy, I'll tell you, just his candid, open honesty about that stuff, that you couldn't get away with having a talk show like that today.
Oh no, definitely not.
Couldn't do it.
It's weird that this comes up. I'll share a personal story, and not really in my life, but a peripheral story to my life, I guess. A not childhood friend, but a early grown-up friend of mine, who I have not seen in years. Not that I'm trying to distance myself, although I need to say I haven't seen him in a while.
Okay.
Got caught up in one of these fucking pedophile stings over the summer. Cleveland had a big sting over the All-Star weekend, baseball All-Star weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy got caught up in it. He got nailed trying to fuck a 15-year-old kid. And he showed up to whatever meeting point with fucking condoms, lube, and a fucking message saying, yeah, I'm here to fuck the 15-year-old kid.
Nice.
So he got sentenced this week.
Okay.
And I guess they plead down. They couldn't plead it out because it was a sting, so they're not going to let him out scot-free. But with no record at all, he got 18 months in a minimum security prison. So, and it's funny because my mom's the one that told me, because she obviously knows this guy too. And so she was trying to say, oh, well, hopefully he'll get some school and some college. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, Mom, this dude is going to do the hardest 18 months there is to do, other than if he was in a fucking maximum or a regular prison.
Right.
He's going to, I mean, I don't care where you go. They do not want to hear about you trying to fuck kids.
Yeah. Child fucker.
They do not want to hear that. And I what you were saying, and when I was watching that Hoffa thing, it came to my mind last night about how he was saying, if you come in and you're and you're strong, you won't get fucked with as bad. I can tell you for a fact, this guy, not that.
He's not strong.
No, definitely not. Like, I don't know, but I would imagine if I ever had to go to prison, I'd probably be okay, because I would fight everybody the first fucking day to where they just know that I'm a problem.
Sure.
And most would not want to fuck with me. And the only ones that would want to fuck with me would be the guys that would fucking beat my ass. But even they wouldn't want to, because it would be more hassle than they generally want.
Right.
You have to kind of set that precedent. This guy, not so much. This guy was definitely, silver spoon.
Beta male?
Well, I don't know. A little tougher than beta male, but definitely not an alpha. And, been henpecked by his wife since she was his girlfriend, and fucking silver spoon guy.
Okay. Soft.
Yeah, very soft. And I just am like, wow, he is going to fucking really struggle.
Wow. All right.
Like, ooh, that's going to be 18 very long months.
Well, if you have any interest in this, just look up on YouTube, Dick Cavett, Jimmy Hoffa.
Right, sure.
That interview was absolutely fascinating, because it was just, he talked about his struggles against the government and how he was targeted, and how, the Kennedy administration was after him and they were relentless, and how when he went to prison, he didn't have the same protocol or rights that prisoners have, the limited rights that they have. He did not get to exercise any of those rights because Robert Kennedy basically told the prison system that, treat this guy like shit. And they did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just pretty rough. And I like the fact that, that Dick Cavett actually asked him about his thoughts on, when President Kennedy was killed and when he heard Robert Kennedy was killed. And he goes, is it true that you basically told your staff not to lower the flag?
That was funny.
And he goes, yeah, absolutely, that's true. He says, I respect the office of the president, but I didn't respect that guy.
Yeah.
And I told him, don't you lower that flag.
Yep.
Like, fuck that guy. I hate him.
He really didn't. He didn't cave in. He didn't give any politically correct answers that whole interview, which
not at all. And I like the fact that right at the end, as I mentioned in the email I sent you, that right at the end of the show when they were wrapping it up, Dick Cavett was trying to see if Hoffa would walk back his comments about homosexuals.
Yeah.
And he goes, absolutely not. I said what I said.
Yep, and that's it. Like, I mean, what are they going to do? Fucking throw him back in jail? The guy did his 5 years, and he came out walking tall.
Yeah, he did. But I just like the fact that he stuck to his guns and didn't say, well, I didn't really mean to say that, or I didn't mean to offend anyone. Yeah, he said, absolutely not.
Yep. Not backing out of shit.
So you got to respect that, regardless of what he did or didn't do.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that, he was mixed up with a lot of bad dudes. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, gotta admire the guy. He stuck to his guns.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't back down for a second.
Not for one single second.
Now, did you get the impression that Dick Cavett was nervous about interviewing him and broaching some questions?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, he knew that Hoffa was still a man of power.
Yeah.
You don't want to go too far with a guy like that. You end up fucking found in your trunk tomorrow.
Well, that to me was just, I was riveted. It was only a 40-minute show, but I was just riveted.
Yeah.
Listening to this and hats off to Dick Cavett, regardless of his interviewing skills. At least he asked some, pointed questions.
Yeah, I'll give him that. I mean, for that interview, he did okay, but I was just more making an opinion overall when I sent that to you. I've watched several of his interviews.
Yeah.
And he stinks.
Oh, he's all over the place. He gets halfway into a question and then he kind of diverts off into something else, and he doesn't finish his sentences, and it's a strange thing. I agree with you. He's not a great interviewer, but boy, he got some good questions off to Hoffa, and Hoffa answered them, and I like that. I like that honesty.
Yeah, I'll take Jennifer or Natalie over him any day.
Well, he certainly, Hoffa certainly wasn't grandstanding. He just basically said, "Hey, this is my thoughts on this," or "This is my thoughts on that."
Mm-hmm.
You ask the question, I'll give you the answer, whether it's politically correct or not.